What's going on, everybody? Zera back with another video. Today we're going to go over the pre-raid best in slot for Phase 1 for both Alliance, Dwarfs, and Night Elves. I almost stammered there because we're recording both Alliance and Horde at the same time, but I'm going to have to divide these up into episodes. So first of all, congratulations to everybody because it is launch week. Everybody enjoy the gloriousness. It's awesome. It should be the most exciting time as a gamer because we have WoW Classic, we've got Final Fantasy VII Remake coming, we've got so much exciting stuff just swirling around us, and I feel like a little kid all over again. But let's not dwell on that too much. Let's dive right on into these pre-raid best in slots for Phase 1 Alliance. So first of all, we're going to start with the Dwarves because Dwarves are superior in every way. Everyone knows this. So I'm going to change this agility to greater intellect. Where is that greater intellect? There. It's not greater intellect. Where is it at? There it is. Right there. Boom. Okay, so starting off, this is my pre-raid best in slot. Now, before I take even this a step further, there is not a set in black and white, set in stone, fit it all into a box kind of approach. If anybody tells you that, they are just looking for attention. They're wanting to be known as the best, and I wouldn't waste much time with them. The simple fact of the matter is that you can do, a dozen different combinations of gear that will more than do the job. Using a website much like 60 Upgrades, you're going to realize that there are a lot of variations you can take. Adding a piece here, taking a piece away there, because some pieces complement themselves more than others. For example, if you have all 4 pieces of Beast Stalker, it's going to trump anything else you can come up with, versus, whether or not you are a Dwarf with the Flawless Arcanite Rival, or you're a Troll with, the Carapace Spine Crossbow. There are so many different variations to this. There's a lot of things you got to take into account. We're not going to cover everything in this video, because it would just take me an hour to do. But let's just focus on the nitty-gritty, and I'm going to explain a couple of variations you can go with, and you'll understand why we're doing this. The first thing I want to show you guys, and it's a little hard for you to see, but if I actually turn out of the way here, you're going to notice there's the Hunter EP, the equivalency points. Now, this is the preset for the Hunters that they have. I don't necessarily agree with this because I believe stat weights change throughout the lifetime of Classic WoW. For example, earlier on, crit doesn't have as much of a range attack power value as it does in later on during the expansion, because the further you get up to phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the higher our crit chance is eventually going to go based on our gear, and our value of crit chance is much higher because we have more of it. So the difference between starting out 17.5% versus 19.5% isn't huge in phase 1. But when you get to, say, AQ40 or Naxxramas, and you start dealing with, numbers north of 35%, the difference between the 39% crit chance and 37%, that's a huge difference. So just keep that in mind. These numbers are pretty static. I don't really agree with them, but we're just going to use these as placeholders and see what they say, okay? I might do a community Q&A on the stream someday, and we can break down what we want to do, what we want our values to be for each one, but let's just see what they have right now. The value of 1 attack power and 1 range attack power, essentially the same difference for us, is 2.8 agility and 28.5 crit chance, and it also is the same value of, hit chance is 22 points essentially. So you're going to see these numbers are going to have a lot to do with how we judge how our gear does here. For example, you're going to notice a lot of gear between the Dwarfs and the Trolls especially have only 5% hit chance, because we get enormous amount of weapon skill that's going to benefit us in the long run. So by having, say, 5 or 6% hit chance just from gear, that's going to subtract close to 66 EP from our score. But when you take that into account, and there's only a difference of like 28 or 18 or 30, that means we're actually in the positive by more than 30 points. I know that may sound confusing, but follow the logic here. Get a piece of paper, maybe go back, rewatch this video a couple of times, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I do recommend, before we get any further, get on the website, get on 60 Upgrades, test out what it says. This is a phenomenal website, not just for hunters, but for warriors, warlocks, shamans, mages, priests, druids. Everybody is got equal representation here, and it's quite amazing. Okay, and it takes into account your specialization. It takes into account, you know, your talents, a whole lot of stuff you can do. So without any further ado, let's get into the nitty gritty. So talking about the dwarf hunters, first thing we need to realize is that hunters have, or excuse me, dwarves have a gun ratio. So +5 to guns naturally. So that already is essentially a 3% hit chance. Our chance to miss a, you know, elite mob 3 levels above us is the same as a question mark raid boss. So that right out of the gate, that 5 gun ratio is going to give us basically a 6% chance hit cap instead of 9%, as long as we're carrying a gun. So that makes this all the more incredible. Now, the flawless Arcanite rifle, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're using a gun, you're a terrible human being, go get hit by a bus. Look, I'm not even going to entertain that statement, because here's the thing: while Black Crow does give you 1% hit and 3 agility, and Carapace Spine Crossbow gives you 4 agility with no additional chance to hit, the actual speed is 3.3, 3.2, and the flawless Arcanite rifle is 3 seconds. So neither one of these are bad options, because you're not going to clip into your auto shots. Another thing you have to take into account is that +4 to guns that the flawless Arcanite rifle comes attached with. That's going to increase our chance to hit by another near 2% at the very least. I think it's like 2 1/3% chance to hit. So that gives us a hit cap literally of almost 4% right out of the gate. So you see here, just with this gear alone, I have 5% chance to hit. I'm far above hit cap already. My hunter is a dwarf. I don't even have to go into survival to get sure-footed. I can go straight into BM to maximize my pet's damage, which is huge. It's going to give us a higher damage cap earlier on, which is all the better. Another thing you have to take into account too is the 10+ range attack power, which is the equivalent. 1 range attack power is equivalent to 2 agility. 1 agility gives you 2 range attack power. So actually, I'm gaining 2 attack power and a lot more hit chance compared to the Carapace Spine Crossbow, and getting 4 attack power as opposed to Black Crow. So there's a lot of things that you need to take into account here. I don't know why this ranks so far down. I'm not necessarily sure if this website takes into account gun ratio, because I'm sure if it did, flawless Arcanite rifle would be much higher. And if you look at the peak damage, Carapace Spine is 124, Black Crow is 117, flawless Arcanite is 122. So as far as actual DPS goes and raw damage, the flawless Arcanite rifle is equivalent to these two. It's actually greater than the Black Crow, and it's like right on the heels of Carapace Spine. If you look, 31.2 DPS, 31.2 DPS. So as far as DPS goes, it's the same output, but you're actually gaining hit chance and you're gaining attack power. You are losing a little bit of crit chance from the agility, but again, this early in the game, crit chance is not that huge of a deal. So, moving into the actual gear pieces, let's look at what they say is pre-raid best in slot. And by say they, I mean websites like Classic WoW BiS. You go to websites like this, they're going to give you a one-size-fits-all scenario. I don't like that, because this doesn't give you the option to have any flexibilities as opposed to having a dwarf versus having a troll. For example, if you're a horde and you're a troll and you have the bow specialization, what are you doing carrying a gun? Well, you're not going to. It's pretty obvious. Plus, dwarven hand cannon in Savage Gladiator Chain, these are all, extremely hard to come by. This is a world drop. This is a 15% chance to drop off a boss that's a 1 in 6 chance to even show up in the Ring of Law encounter in BRD. So, not very intuitive, but it gives you a baseline to work with. So, based on what they say is pre-raid best in slot, this is this system right here. Everything's got full enchants. Let me go ahead and slap on the greater intellect here. So, moving on, let's compare these two. So, I'll go to my pre-raid best in slot, and then we'll go to what they say is pre-raid best in slot. So if you look at this, I'm gaining 3100 EP, but notice most of that's coming from my hit chance. I'm gaining 4% hit, but again, we talked about this. Hit chance is basically 22 points per hit chance. So if I'm gaining 4 hit chance, that's 88 EP, but I'm only in the green by 31. So I didn't even need that hit chance to begin with. So you just nullify that completely, because that's just wasted. I'm essentially in the negative here by more than 50 points. So this is you have to play with this to understand what I'm talking about. I lose over 100 health. I lose over 460 mana. I'm in the negative everywhere except strength, but strength doesn't do anything for us. and I'm over 110 points in the negative on attack power. I'm in the positive 4% by hit chance. That's completely wasted. Don't need it as a dwarf with a gun, or at least with the flawless Arcanite rifle anyway. And then I'm in the positive. The only thing positive about this gear change is that I'm in the green over a 1.5% uptick on crit chance. Okay, phenomenal. I lose all of this damage. I lose all of this mana. I lose all of this agility just for that little bit of uptick in crit. Not worth it. You're far better off taking over 120 attack power nearly. So it's pretty obvious that this gear that I have selected here is better, but let's just look at the comparison here. The difference is not exactly all that great. So we just go with the Mask of Unforgiven / Claw Bracers, and of course the Wind Reaver. These are all plus hit chance pieces of gear. Plus 1 chance to hit, plus 2 chance to hit, plus 1 chance to hit. This is all so you can get hit cap just from gear alone. But again, as a dwarf, not necessary. We don't need that because again, if you just carry the flawless Arcanite rifle, you have barely a 4% hit cap out of the gate, which means that just with True Strike shoulders and, you know, the Devil Star set bonus, you already hit that. So this is the trade-off that they're talking about. This is a one-size-fits-all. Everybody has 9% hit chance out of the gate. I don't really think that this fits the playstyle of a dwarf, so I would recommend everybody go ahead and get after this. But here's another part about this that I'm not getting to, is the fact that things like Beastalker and Cape of Black Baron, True Strike Shoulders, Crown of Tyranny, all this gear essentially drops from one of 2 places. I mean, Ubers, Elbers, Strathome. That's it. Ubers, Elbers, Strathome. So you're in Blackrock Spire, either upper or lower, or you're in Strathome. Everything else is crafted. I mean, everything else is crafted. So Black Baron is a quest. Peacemaker is a drop in Strathome. I think Beastalker Binding is a world drop out of various dungeons. Beastalker Tunic drops out of Ubers. And the boots I also think drop out of Strathome, yep. And the belt is another world drop. It drops out of Blackrock Spire. It's a Ubers, Elbers random drop. So all of this stuff is basically in 1 or 2 places. And if you spend a majority of your time limiting down to only 1 or 2 dungeons, that just made your life a whole lot easier. As opposed to the other one, you had to go to places like BRD, you had to, you know, scour the auction house for random epic world drops, which are going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of gold. Not very viable at all. So this is streamlined, this is simple, this is direct. Go after this stuff. It is actually, in my opinion, best in terms of viability, availability, and execution as far as the dwarf goes. Now, if we look at the actual numbers, you're looking at about 936 range attack power, which is huge because you're basically going to be shy with True Shot Aura active. You're going to be shy 14 attack power from having 1,000 attack power just rolling into the raids. That's incredible. That's really good damage. And then you're with lethal shots plus 5 to range crits from the Marksman tree. You're looking at 17.5% chance to crit right out of the gate. That's really impressive. Now, what we're going to look at next is going to be what I came up for, the Night Elves. The Night Elves are the other half of the coin for Alliance Hunters. There's not a whole lot different as far as our gear set goes, but there is something to take into account here. You do take Black Crow instead of Flawless Arcanite Rifle because of the fact that you get agility, you get 1% chance to hit. Night Elves have a natively higher agility base than Dwarves do. So any little bit more uptick in agility is going to go a long way. Plus, that 1% chance to hit is way more beneficial to the Night Elves than the plus 4 to guns because they don't have a gun racial, so they don't get hardly anything out of it. So getting the 1% chance to hit is far more beneficial to them from Black Crow than it is for the Dwarves. But if you look, same difference here. If we have, you know, pre-raid best in slot copy, and we look based on, again, this is what they supposedly say is pre-raid best in slot. You're losing everything. You're in the red on everything except for strength, which we don't use. You're gaining the 3% chance to hit, which is nice, but again, only plus 37. So you take 22 multiplied by 3, you get 66. We're essentially in the negative here over 30 points because that 37 is solely coming from crit chance. Look at the crit chance. Crit chance is almost 28.5 points, and then we're almost up 2% chance to crit. So you take that into account, and you take hit chance out because we can get 9% hit cap from sure-footed. Not a problem. Now, if you do want to be that guy that says, you know what, as a night elf, I don't actually want to bother with getting any points in sure-footed, that's going to be really difficult to do, but it's not impossible. Let's see what we can do to get to that point. So again, this is 6% chance to hit. This will be 17.75% chance to crit, 950 range attack power. So as a night elf, you're going to have 1,000 attack power just with True Shot Aura. Just from your True Shot Aura. So essentially, unbuffed, because you're the only person buffing yourself with your own ability, True Shot Aura, you have 1,000 attack power. So you're actually superior to the Dwarves as far as consistent damage goes and crit chance. The only downside is Dwarves will be able to roll right into BM to get their pets damage buffed, whereas then you have to go into Surefoot on the survival tree. So the question becomes, what can we do to negate that? What can we do to, make that not be an issue? Well, the only option we're going to have is to either A, go this route, which is take Slash Claw Bracers to give us 1% chance, Wind Griever Greaves for another 1% chance to hit. That gives us an 8% hit cap. So we're still missing out on 1%. Well, the only other option here is to maybe go with the Mask of Unforgiven, which gives you 2% more than you needed before. So this is just where you have to play with the numbers and figure out what's actually going to work better for you. Is it actually more beneficial for you to say take True Strike, instead of taking True Strike Shoulders, take the Worm Tongue Shoulders, which will give you more raw agility and more raw attack power? Because this is plus 24 attack power, doesn't give you any base stats whatsoever besides hit and attack power. Worm Tongue's going to give you basically 46 attack power and a little bit more crit. So let's see what that does. So we gain 13% chance to crit. We go down to 8% hit chance, 874 range attack power. We've lost attack power because we dropped the Crown of Tyranny, which gives us 40% attack power. So again, we got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Let's see, what can we do to might benefit us? We've got Peacemaker here. If we drop it, although it's a dungeon drop in Strathome, there's Warmonger, gives you a 3% chance to hit, but it's a world drop, really hard to get your hands on that. There's just a lot that you need to play with as far as what you want. Like dual wielding Bone Slicing Hatchet would probably be a great option for you, but even if you do that, that's still only 13 agility per axe, 26 agility in total, which is going to come out to be 52 attack power total. Again, 56 attack power from Peacemaker, 1% chance to crit. That's still going to be superior than dual wielding. So, and the benefit is you only need one, and you need to drop it one time off of Strathome, which is 17% chance to drop. So, again, this is all going to be up to you. Even if you got this to 8% as opposed to a full 9%, that's still better than putting all 3 points in sure-footed. You can put 2 points. You can only put 1 point in sure-footed. Move into improved aspect of the Hawk to give you more chance to proc that. Again, get in here, play with these numbers. There's a lot to be said for this website. I promise you, you'll have a lot of fun with this. The theory crafting rabbit hole will consume you. You'll spend, an hour or two at least looking at this your first time out, trying to figure out how it works. But once you figure out how it works, start playing with it, and I promise you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I think that's it, guys. I'm just going to go back and show you guys what I believe is, true pre-raid best in slot. This is just my opinion. You guys can, crucify me in the comment section if you want to, but I think you would if you take a minute and are just really objective with it, I think it would be really hard for you to disagree that having a 9% hit cap from having sure-footed, 1,000 attack power going in with True Shot Aura, and a 17.75% crit, you haven't even stepped 1 foot into a raid yet. That's really impressive numbers. So, like I said, guys, that's it for the Alliance Dwarves, Night Elves. You can see what the numbers are. These are very solid, very similar gear pieces. Dwarves would be able to roll in, immediately going into BM for points. Night Elves would have to dip into survival for sure-footed, unless you wanted to exchange a couple of pieces here. But I just don't think it's worth grinding the Savage Gladiator chain. That's what it boils down to. It's just not worth it. Now, if you want to go into Skolo and get Cadaverous armor, that's a really great option. That can make up a lot of the attack power you gain. So, but I mean, even that's a 2% zone drop chance in Skolo, which is not a dungeon we even have to remotely farm. So if you want to add a third dungeon to your list, then by all means go for it. But I like to keep things condensed. I like to keep things very viable as far as where I'm going to spend a majority of my time in 1 or 2 places. That's it. If I spread myself too thin, then 1 or 2 things has to happen. I either A, reduce my chances of getting a piece of gear out of a specific dungeon because I'm spending less time in that dungeon because I have to take away from that time and put it into another one, or B, and my wife who's sitting on the floor is going to attest to this, I have to spend more time in game, which is not an option. So guys, I'm telling you, take this with a grain of salt, figure out what's going to work best for you, for your schedule, and plan accordingly. If nothing else, I introduced you to this website. Check it out, 60upgrades.com. Amazing website. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give the video a like if you did. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know in the comment section what I could have done to improve. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. Love you as always. Stay kind to one another, and I'll see you in the next video. Zera out.